we have a slight delay to the start of this race. And there, with the start delayed to the FIA Formula 3 European Championship race then. Callum Eilert going from pole position. And Maximilian Günther in a better position going from P2 on the grid ahead of Guan Yu Zhu. So Mick Schumacher there we can see. So start formation lap at 17:23. So it's quite a delay to the formation lap and the race getting underway, unfortunately. And therefore it's more tension for these drivers then ahead of race number 2 for them across this weekend. So Callum Eilert then, pole position once again. You'll recall from the earlier race today, Callum Eilert pole position once again, but ended up finishing off the podium. It was a P4 finish for Callum Eilert. We see the Prema Power team cars off. Callum Eilert and Mick Schumacher down there, parked up in the paddock area. So formation lap not getting underway until 17:23 local time. So this for the drivers then, it becomes sort of extra tension for them. So we look at Maximilian Günther then, whose season has not gone the way that he A, expected, or B, would have wanted. And the car's being released from the pit lane now. When you get a situation like this, Alex, when the start is delayed significantly, presumably you're already tense going into the race anyway. And then when you've got an additional period of time to wait, that must make it even more difficult.
Yeah, it's horrible, to be honest, because you are so focused in the race. You just wanted to get started. All the moments before the race, when you drive into the pre-grid, standing on the pre-grid, 10 minutes more, 5 minutes more, it always feels so long. You want that it gets... Finally, it gets underway. You can start the race. You can start racing. So all this waiting, which will be like still almost 20 minutes long, it's killing you. It feels like it will last forever. Probably, I think we have some barrier repairs due to the crash in TT Cup. So that might be the reason of the delay.
We were looking at the Maximilian Günther car, who's going to make his way out onto the grid. Now, for Maximilian Günther, in that first race, there is the Maximilian Günther car. He lost P2 in the championship to Joel Eriksson and has gone back down to P3 now. But, of course, Maximilian Günther is going from P2 on the grid now because there's still 50 points up for grabs, isn't there?
Yeah, exactly. We have 50 points in the game, and he started on P2. We saw, like you were saying this morning, he lost his second position in the championship to Joel Eriksson. We will see what he's able to do. I mean, as we know already, Lando Norris, as you were saying before, is our champion.
Yes.
So there is nothing to do here, but second position still on the game, and still points to bank there and the battle. So let's see what this can do. I mean, Joel Eriksson I think starting on P6. So we'll have to make some improvements. So it gives a little bit drama into the race, and also regarding tomorrow, we have also one more race tomorrow. So it's not decided yet today.
So there you can see the number 7 car of Ralph Aron then. And there is Maximilian Günther in the all-pink car weaving from side to side. And there the number 16 car of Felipe Drugovich. Felipe Drugovich, of course, coming into the FIA Formula 3 European Championship for this last round following his success in the ADAC Formula 4 series. And, of course, that's part of this single-seater pyramid, isn't it? Where, you know, from karting you go to regional Formula 4 and then potentially FIA Formula 3 European Championship, and from here potentially F2 and of course Formula 1. A number of drivers of course have gone directly from this fine championship to Formula 1. Last year's champion indeed, Lando Norris, having an excellent first year in Formula 1. Lance Stroll, not Lando Norris, although it might be a bit of a Freudian slip there because Lando Norris very, very connected with the McLaren racing team, of course. Lando Norris will certainly have the sights of Formula 1 well within his targets, I would think.
Yeah, for sure. It's like you were saying, in the last year, this pyramid is getting more and more clear. So you have Formula 4, Formula 3, Formula 2, and Formula 1. So still a few classes there, like GP3 that or the V8, all world series that can give you an alternative into Formula 1. But like you were saying, it's a pretty clear pyramid, and if you do well, you can promote up to the steps and come into Formula 1.
Well, who knows where some of the 21 drivers that we see on the grid will be in but a few years' time. And you have to say the FIA Formula 3 European champion this year, who's won it as a rookie as well, Lando Norris. You know, keep an eye on that name. I think that name may feature in the annals of motorsport success in many, many years to come. So Callum Ilott going from pole position, Maximilian Günther alongside. There, of course, is Mick Schumacher in the Prema car number 25. Right behind him there is Lando Norris, then the Carlin Motorsport driver. So Mick spins up the rear wheels and off he goes, and Lando Norris will do the same in just a few seconds' time. So we're about 11 minutes away from the start of the formation lap. The cars gradually making their way out onto the grid. There is the new champion. Lando Norris, in his rookie year in the FIA Formula 3 European Championship, has taken the championship. There were a number of drivers that thought, or a number of us that thought he would win the championship at the last round at the back end of September at the Red Bull Ring. But it wasn't to be. The drama was kept going until we came here at Hockenheim, but he sealed it in race 1, didn't he?
Yeah, he did an amazing performance, taking the race, and yes, as you were saying, brilliant drive by him, and taking the championship, excuse me. So yes, everything he had to do, just bring it home. He did so now he can enjoy 2 races really relaxed and without any pressure.
You and I have the privilege of being at the awards ceremony that will be tomorrow evening, and clearly one of the questions I'm going to be asking Lando is, so where are you going to be next year?
Let's see what he answers.
Yes, he's actually he's great fun to talk to. I've been in a couple of Q&As with him this year, and he's been really enjoyable to talk to. Which isn't a given of all racing drivers, who are always so focused on their job that actually any form of media intrusion is that. It's an intrusion, isn't it? It's a breaking of your focus on what you need to be doing, as you know, you're very clear and a very narrow train of thought, if you like, because you have to get in the zone and think about what you've got to do.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it depends. It has its advantages and disadvantages. If you are able to go get away with them, can be really helpful at some point. If you feel a lot of pressure because of media or questions and so on, then it can be annoying or difficult for you. So that's why you need to always find a compromise or don't let you lose your focus because of media, because of questions. It's part of the sport as well.
Of course. Jake Hughes then, our high-tech GP driver, going from P4 on the grid. Of course, Jake Hughes took his win in the FIA Formula 3 European Championship. I think it was the middle race at Nürburgring of the 3 races there. We look at Pedro Piquet now, going from P5 on the grid, and going from P6 on the grid. A rich vein of form. He's taken 3 wins in a row. Is the driver that we will see next, and there he is, Joel Eriksson. So, as I say, a rich vein of form now for Joel Eriksson, and from P6 on the grid, you certainly wouldn't bet against him for success in this race. So, Joel Eriksson. Now, just as we were looking at Joel Eriksson there, fiddling with the buttons on his steering wheel, explain to us, as a former Formula 3 driver, what you're doing with those buttons there. What can you be doing at this point as we look at the new champion, Lando Norris?
Mainly changing the pages that you can check, maybe the brake bars, or
yes.
There is not, in this car, in the steering wheel, there is nothing you can change. Or like traction, you have no traction control, you have no any kind of help or engine map, anything. You just have the speed limiter, radio, and then you have to change the pages of the steering wheel. So probably he was changing some page or looking some temperature.
Tadazuke Makino is doing the same. Look, his eyes really focused on that, and as you say, just changing pages potentially on the display.
Yes, maybe looking for brake bars is something you do just to know you have the right brake bars before starting the race. Something like this, or checking, for example, the bars of the handbrake.
Right.
That you press the brake, and when you push the handbrake, that it's staying around. It has to be, if I remember well, it has to be around 20 bars. It's a good braking pressure for
That's the pressure, 20 bars.
Yeah, for the handbrake.
Well, we're just 5 or 6 minutes away from the formation lap getting underway then for this FIA Formula 3 European Championship Race 2 of 3 across this weekend. Ralph Aron, high-tech GP driver. So there is Ralph Aron in there. And, of course, these cars about to do battle for 33 minutes plus 1 lap. And the Gian Dorovala car going from P11 on the grid, the Carlin Motorsport driver. The same team that, of course, has put Lando Norris at the top of the championship. And Mick Schumacher then, car number 25, is going from P14 on the grid for Prema Power Team.
Yeah, one point we see... One point, it's something we haven't mentioned before, is the Lando Norris winning with Carlin. He's the first driver in the last 5 years which is not winning with Prema Power Team.
Yeah.
So it's breaking a little bit the winning
streak, if you like.
Yes. Of Prema Power Team in the last years.
That, of course, is that's very good for the health of the FIA Formula 3 European Championship, and proves that other teams can be winners as well. It's put Carlin right back at the top again, where, of course, Carlin Motorsport have been renowned as single-seater specialists for many, many years. And as we look at Callum Eilert then, going from pole position, doing a great job in qualifying, putting that car P1 for race 1 and for race 2. Maximilian Günther going from P2 on the grid, but P2 on the grid is the inside for turn number 1, isn't it? Because you have the inside line here, Maximilian Günther. And Lando Norris, the all-new champion, going from P7 on the grid. So, final stages of preparation then. And the grid being cleared because we are just 4 minutes away from the formation lap. And already the sticker on the side of the car, 2017 FIA Formula 3 European Champion Lando Norris. P1. So the grid girls make their way off the circuit. And just a few moments away then from the start of this Formula 3 race. We look once again at the Maximilian Günther car. And our pole sitter, Callum Eilert, as the sun begins to come down a bit here in Hockenheim, where the weather has been extraordinary. We've been so blessed with beautiful weather all day today, which has promoted terrific track conditions. You and I have both been here at the same fixture for a number of years where the weather has not been quite so kind to us.
No, the last 2 times we've been here, it's been raining or drizzling one of the days and foggy. So, yeah, amazing weather. And, yeah, really good for enjoying nice racing. When we hit now the last race of the day.
So our fleet of foot cameraman down there then, going from P1 to P2. There is the Maximilian Günther car then. Of course, in the middle part of the season, the car was re-liveried with the BWT Association. There's Guan Yu Zhu going from P3 on the grid. Guan Yu Zhu then, expect good things from him potentially from P3 on the grid. And they're just the engineers left on the track now to fire up those cars and send them away on their formation lap. We are just 1 3/4 minutes away from the formation lap getting underway. Lando Norris in conversation with his one of his engineers there from Carlin, just ahead of the start of the race. Of course, all the hard work he has done throughout the season has paid off as he was crowned earlier today as 2017 FIA Formula 3 European champion. Lando Norris then, and there is our pole sitter, Callum Eilert. So Callum Eilert going from P1 on the grid, Maximilian Gunter P2, Guan Yu Zhu P3, Jake Hughes, Pedro Piquet, Joel Eriksson, Lando Norris. Then it is Tadazuke Makino, Nikita Mazepin, and Rolf Aron rounding out the first 5 rows. So the car's fired up now for their formation lap. And we are about to go racing in the FIA Formula 3 European Championship. Good luck to Maximilian Gunter as he's given a handshake from his engineer. And the final engineers leave the track. Now, just to explain why the engineers are always there towards the end of the race, it's because of the battery pack that they use to fire up the cars, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. The Formula 3, it's a car doesn't have so well-known alternator or so engine, this small engine that keeps the battery alive.
Right.
So it always consumes the battery. It just doesn't need a lot of battery because you don't have lights or you don't have a lot of electronics, but
sure, you
need to fire up. It's a big consumption of energy. So to fire up the engine, you use an external battery to help you, and then you unplug it and go away. So now all the cars are running on. So if you stall a car now, you can use the normal battery to start it. It's not a problem, but you can run the risk that you run out of the battery level because they don't have any way of recovering energy from the engine or recharging from the engine.
So cars off on their formation lap then around this 4.5 kilometer circuit that is Hockenheim. Here in the early evening sunshine, it's local time, just coming up to 25 minutes past 5. And we'll bring you the grid in full in graphics and in voice also. As the cars weave from side to side to try and generate some temperature into those tyres. The ambient temperature has been good, but of course it's chilling down now, so they'll have to be quite vigorous in terms of their tyre warming. On the way to the grid around the hairpin, and here comes the grid in full for you. Callum Eilert, P1, Maximilian Gunter alongside, and it's Guan Yu Zhu, Jake Hughes, Pedro Piquet, Joel Eriksson, Lando Norris, Tadazuke Makino, Nikita Mazepin, and Ralph Aron round out the first 5 rows of the grid with Gian Darivala, Joey Mawson, Ferdinand Habsburg, Mick Schumacher, David Beckman, Kay Van Andres, Juri Vips, the Estonian driver from Formula 4, Felipe Drugovich, and then we see Marino Sato, Harrison Newey, and Di Francesco goes from P21 on the grid. So cars into the stadium section of the Hockenheim Ring, where we've had a phenomenal audience to watch the racing all weekend long. It's been very, very busy here. There you can see the track layout of this 4.574 kilometer circuit, 33 minutes plus 1 lap for this final race of the day. Another race for the FIA Formula 3 European Championship to come tomorrow, their 3rd and final race of the season 2017. There is the Lando Norris car. Just a couple of corners to do before they're back, and it's Callum Eilert and Maximilian Gunter then on the front row of the grid. And Guan Yu Zhu, Jake Hughes, Pedro Piquet, and Joel Eriksson as Callum Eilert lights up the rear of the car then, heading towards his grid box then. Parks it up absolutely precisely. Maximilian Gunter does the same. There'll be a real battle between these two as they head towards turn number 1. As I mentioned, because of the grid, the pole position is on the outside line, and you need the inside line going into turn number 1. So Callum Eilert, who had a brilliant start earlier on in the day, and then lost out and ended up finishing P4. Let's see what will play out in the race today, or the second race of the day, I should say.
Yellow flag on the left. Someone stole the engine.
So who is in trouble on the grid there?
Maybe have a second formation lap.
It's Joey Mawson. So Joey Mawson, the number 96 car, then waving furiously to say, I have a problem.
So we maybe have another formation
lap is potential.
We have an extra formation lap.
So cars released then on an additional formation lap. Now in this situation, when Joey Mawson has been the driver responsible for the additional formation lap through whatever reason, we know not why yet, will he be allowed to start the race?
I mean, he's allowed to start the race, but he will start. He needs to start the race in the back of the pack.
Yes.
The back of the grid, but first he needs to start the race.
Yes.
To get the car on the way. So Marshall's pushing the car. Oh, we have also someone else adding the race, and the fans cheering the Marshalls and probably also the bunny. Any of
so
those?
Joey Mawson steers the car into the pit lane then, and the team will go to work on the car, presumably to try and get it going again. The Van Amersfoort team will attend to it straight away, and presumably if they can get it going, when does it reach the point where he has to start from the pit lane rather than from the back of the grid? Because he's not going to be able to join this additional formation lap, is he?
No, now he needs to start from the pit lane for sure. So if he can restart the car or start
can see
the car.
Fritz Van Amersfoort there, right in the middle of your picture, the team principal of Van Amersfoort Racing.
So let's see if they can find out what's the problem on the car, if it's just a battery issue like we were talking about before, or it's a bigger issue.
I have to say, there doesn't appear to be a whole lot of urgency going on there.
So they are adding the battery when we still see the bunny.
Off to safety, well done.
It's still there, so not that it comes out in the race. I've seen this before. It's in the inside of a Sachs curve.
So then the cars, their second formation lap, and the race duration has been reduced now to 31 minutes plus 1 lap because of the additional formation lap. There's the Mick Schumacher car, there's Maximilian Günther, so all over again they have to line up in their grid boxes. Callum Eilert lines up in his, Maximilian Günther does the same. He angles the car towards the middle of the track there. That's presumably to try and defend that inside line going into turn number 1.
Yeah, exactly, it's what you were saying. It's a P2. It's a disadvantage, of course. You're a few meters behind P1, but you also have the inside line. So we've seen already, if you do a really good start from P2, you can already be on the leading of the race after corner 1.
Right, so start sequence underway. No more news with regards to the Joey Mawson car, which the green flag from the marshal at the rear now means the start sequence is going to get underway then. Once we have 5 lights out, we will be racing. And away we go. Callum Eilert then gets a good start away. Maximilian Günther is going to have to slot into P2. Guan Yu Zhu into P3 then as they head towards turn number 1. So Callum Eilert converts that P1 position, that pole position, into the race lead going through turn number 1 and also turn number 2. Maximilian Günther chasing hard. So as they make their way through number 2, I think Joey Mawson has rejoined. I think he's out from the pit lane. I think Joey Mawson is out on track. So that's really good. The Van Amersfoort team have managed to get Joey Mawson going from the pit lane. Of course, he'll be right at the very back of the pack as the cars make their way around the Parabolica now, heading up to what is the pinch point, which is the hairpin. Callum Eilert goes through.
Is that Lando Norris? Looks like Lando Norris was the one running wide into the dirt.
Well, you could be right, because I cannot see Lando Norris where he should be.
That was Lando Norris.
Here comes Maximilian Günther challenging Callum Eilert then as they run down off the back of the hairpin now. So Maximilian Günther trying to push Callum Eilert with regards to the lead of this race. And keep your eyes on Guan Yu Zhu as well, who's just sitting there waiting to try and pounce as well. We go 3 cars abreast. There is Lando Norris. You're absolutely right. Well picked up on that. He's rejoined now, but he's much, much further down the order. So there is Lando Norris in the number 31 car, battling there with the number 4 car of the Estonian racer, Jüri Vips, from making his debut in the FIA Formula 3 European Championship from ADAC Formula 4. Callum Eilert leads from Guan Yu Zhu. Callum Eilert leads from Maximilian Günther. Then it's Guan Yu Zhu, he's P3. Jake Hughes is P4. Then it's Joel Eriksson, Pedro Piquet, Makino, and then Mazepin, Habsburg, and Daruvala rounding out the top 10. Then Lando Norris back to P13. Has got past Jury Vips.
Yeah, we also think it's Felipe Drugo. Harrison Newey who got past Mick Schumacher on the entry of the stadium.
So then Eilert, Günther, Zhu, Hughes, Ericsson, Piquet.
See again, I think it's Joel Eriksson putting some pressure into Jake Hughes.
Well, Joel Eriksson, of course, has been very successful. And Joel Eriksson has really got the bit between his teeth now. He is really chasing down Jake Hughes. They are virtually welded together. So Eriksson to the outside. And now he tries to get alongside the Jake Hughes car. Not quite able to do so, but a real battle going on here. Joel Eriksson really pushing for everything he is worth. And also Maximilian Günther all over the back of Callum Eilert. That for the race lead, of course. And as I say, one to keep an eye on is Guan Yu Zhu here, who's really potentially going to be in a position to take advantage of the fight that's going on between Callum Eilert and Maximilian Günther.
For sure, it's the typical thing which happening in your P3. You're just an spectator of what's happening in front of you. So we'll see now Maxi Günther lost a little bit of distance compared to Callum Eilert.
There was an incident between Mick Schumacher and also Ferdinand Habsburg, which is going to be under investigation. So Ferdinand Habsburg is P9 and Mick Schumacher is P16.
And this is right at the start of the race, if I don't remember. Oh, another.
And that's Kay Van Andrews with the number 21 car there. And Kay Van Andrews
with Max De Fernie, I think.
No, that's Di Francesco.
Di Francesco, excuse me.
No, you are excused. Di Francesco, and here we can go back to the battle for the lead then. Callum Eilert continuing to lead from Maximilian Günther. Look at this, 2, 3, 4 abreast. Whoa.
Oh,
so Gian Daruvala.
There was Beckman with Lando Norris just behind of him. I mean, some oversteering to the hairpin. Daruvala leading the group in front of Ralph Aron.
And right behind Lando Norris is the number 4 car of Jury Vips.
Lando Norris locking those tires. Really on the limit.
So Ralph Aron is really pushing Gian Daruvala here. And Ralph Aron now is significantly under pressure. This is some brilliant racing going on here. So there you can see Lando Norris in the number 55 car of David Beckman. Then Lando Norris trying to go all the way around the outside on that banked section of the turn. David Beckman, the car ahead in car number 55. And this is the fight going on for P12 in the race. A race that Callum Eilert is leading by 5/10 over Maximilian Günther, and then Guan Yu Zhu in P3. Jake Hughes is P4. Then it's Ericsson, Piquet, Makino, and Mazepin before we get into this battle, which involves Daruvala, Aaron, Beckman, Norris, Jury Vips, Harrison Newey, Felipe Drugovich, and Mick Schumacher. So there is Gian Daruvala then ahead, and David Beckman and Lando Norris there, and there's like a 6-car train, all trying to get the better of each other. Then here comes Callum Eilert, 5/10 ahead of Maximilian Günther. So there is Maximilian Günther going through, and Ferdinand Habsburg with damage to the rear. It's a puncture, isn't it?
Yeah, it's totally a puncture. Looks like a cathode wheel tire.
So the Carlin team stand by to work on the Ferdinand Habsburg car and get him back out on track once again. So some adjustments going on to the front of the car at the same time, and
just looking if everything is on place. The thing now, if you look at the back, you see Mick Schumacher. There was some contact there between both drivers on the start.
So that's the bit.
You see some smoke. Yeah.
So that's why it's under investigation. Well picked up. Well done.
Saw it before on the start. On the back, could not distinguish the drivers.
Well, that's going to be investigated after the race.
We see now the camera. We'll have it straight in front of us. Well, I think it's a little bit of an incident race. One goes to the left, the other goes to the right, and both drivers collide in the middle. You see a replay of corner number 1. Lando Norris almost crashing in the back and running wide before
rejoining.
Yeah. Before putting his snow in the back of what was that, number 5? So Pedro Piquet.
Now, that was the incident, wasn't it, between Kay Van Andrews and Di Francesco.
That's the puncture of Ferdinand Habsburg, which I think it has nothing to do with the incident with Mick Schumacher. It's on the rear left, and when he had a contact with Mick Schumacher, was on the right side of the car. So
it's a very fair point.
So I think it's totally from maybe someone with his wing got too close or cut his tire, or maybe he ran over a curb or a deep wheel.
Sorry, Jake Hughes.
On with Joel Eriksson.
So Joel Eriksson continuing to duel hard with Jake Hughes ahead then. Joel Eriksson side by side with Jake Hughes. This is brilliant racing between the two of them. My goodness me, just how close are they going to be? Jake Hughes in the number 34 car, Joel Eriksson in the number 1 car, and Joel Eriksson is continuing to be denied. Pedro Piquet trying to buy into it at the same time. But valiant effort from Joel Eriksson to try and find a way past.
Yeah, and this is allowing Pedro Piquet to join the battle. And as well, it will allow Tadasuke Makino and Nikita Mazepin to join the pack.
Callum Ilott is 1.7 seconds up the road now in P1. Ahead of Maximilian Günther P2, Guan Yu Zhu is P3. Then it is this battle with Hughes and Joel Eriksson and Pedro Piquet. And then Makino Mazepin as well, also involved in that as they make their way around the Parabolica now. So that pack has really broken away. As you can see, there is the man that has broken away in the lead of the race, Callum Ilott, P1. Maximilian Günther is P2. And then Guan Yu Zhu is P3. Before we see the Joel Eriksson and Jake Hughes battle going on for P4. So down there with the Prema Power team as Callum Ilott's mum looks on and watches what Callum Ilott is doing out there. And, well, what he's doing is leading the race by 1.7 seconds and doing a good job. There is Maximilian Günther. If anything, Guan Yu Zhu, I think, is getting a little bit closer to Maximilian Günther.
Yeah, his rhythm is a little bit faster. We're looking at the lap times.
Yes.
He was second sector, a little bit faster than Maxi Günther. So as you are right, you're completely right, Dave. It's getting a little bit closer at the moment. Everything a bit stabilized. But let's see, like we saw already this morning with the tires, that if you do a bad tire management, you can lose a lot of positions, or you can lose a lot of pace towards the end of the race. So let's see how all this tire management is working. Also, Callum Ilott is lapping really fast. Let's see if he can keep this rhythm towards the end of the race, or it can cost him some positions.
But in fairness to Callum Ilott, of course, he's not attacking anyone, and therefore he's super smooth, isn't he? And he can focus on just nailing every apex, not take too much of the curves, just be very, very quick and consistent, and not take too much out of the car through having 2 attacks. So Callum Ilott now 2.3 seconds to the good over Maximilian Günther and Guan Yu Zhu, and that makes a difference, doesn't it, when you've got a clear track ahead of you, because you're not stressing the car too much or the tyres too much. Yes, you've got to be quick, but you can be super smooth as well, and Callum Ilott has really given us a masterclass in how to do that at the moment. Yeah,
this is like exactly what you're saying. It's about how much you stress the tyre. When we see now, I think it's car number 33.
Yes, that's Marino Sato.
Fighting with De Francesco. So yes, you were saying it's all about this compromise, being fast but taking care of the tires, be really, let's say, gentle and polite with the steering wheel, not making any aggressive turns or any aggressive change of directions. In this, you can take care a little bit more of the tires.
There is Mick Schumacher then, who is currently running in P17. Joey Mawson. Given that Joey Mawson started from the pit lane, you will recall, is running P16 behind Felipe Drugovich, Harrison Newey, Juri Vips. Lando Norris is P12. There you can see confirmation of that on the screen there. Juri Vips P13, Harrison Newey P14. Then it is Felipe Drugovich and Joey Mawson.
Yeah, we have car number 5, which is Pedro Piquet, and car number 11, Tadasuke Makino, under investigation due to an inaccurate grid position.
Now, that could hurt Makino, of course, who's running in P7, and Piquet, who's running in P6.
Both drivers driving together at the moment. And, of course, we also have the incident between Mick Schumacher and Ferdinand Habsburg, and the investigation. It will be, stewards will look at it after the race.
So Mick Schumacher way down the order, P17 with his former ADAC Formula 4 arch enemy, but they're good friends off track, who's running in P16. So I said it's a bit of a masterclass being shown to us from Callum Eilert. Just look what he's broken out away from Maximilian Günther and Guan Yu Xu. And Jake Hughes looking pretty comfortable in P4 now. The pressure from Joel Eriksson seems to have gone away for a moment. Then it is Piquet, Makino and Mazepin and Daruvala, and Ralph Aron is rounding out the top 10 with Lando Norris, our new champion, running in P12 at the moment. Ahead of him is the car of David Beckman. He had really good effort at trying to get past David Beckman, but was unsuccessful in doing so just a couple of laps ago. Okay, this is critical because Pedro Piquet is going to get a time penalty of 5 seconds, and so too is Makino. So that's going to make a real difference to the order, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I guess they will add this second at the end of the race.
Sure.
So for sure this is allowing, I think, Nikita Mazepin to improve position. Same will do Daruvala. I think it's Ralph Aron as well. And I think it's not enough for the Beckman. But it can change towards the end of the race.
Of course.
Still a little bit. So we have 17 minutes to go.
And when you get a 5-second penalty like that, you need to push as hard as you possibly can to mitigate and minimize the damage that's going to cause you in terms of your race position.
Yeah, exactly. If you manage to have a 5-second gap between you and your competitor or your driver just behind you, then you can get away with it.
Yes.
And you will not you will not lose any position. But of course, if you have a small difference between the drivers, then you might lose a lot of time and positions.
So the Mick Schumacher car then that we watch running in P17 off the back of the hairpin, running down now towards the stadium section of the circuit here at Hockenheim, 4.574 kilometers. And Callum Eilert then doing a great job out front, 3.6 seconds to the good over Maximilian Günther. And there we can see the Prema Power team watching on. So across the timing line now, and increases the margin once again. Callum Eilert lapping in the 133.2s, everyone else in the 133.4s, 5.6. In fact, Joel Eriksson is the 133.370 from P5 at the moment in the race. So he's the only other one that's lapping in the 133.2s or 3s. So Joel Eriksson then going to have another go at Jake Hughes. I feel this is coming around the Parabolica, heading up towards the hairpin. So Joel Eriksson is P5, Jake Hughes is P4. So Joel Eriksson goes to the outside, will try and get underneath the Jake Hughes car. Now is denied the opportunity. Jake Hughes just slows and rotates the car perfectly. And that's what's critical on the exit of that hairpin, isn't it? To make sure you position the car perfectly. As Joel Eriksson now to the outside of Jake Hughes, hoping that Jake is just going to make a small error, a small mistake, which will allow him to get alongside. But Jake Hughes is defending this position really rather well, isn't he? And the one that's having to do all the hard work and therefore is stressing his tyres even more is Joel Eriksson. Yeah, for sure. This is what we saw this morning, and we were always talking about. It's now halfway through the race, so you need to take care of those tires. If you really push now, if you really push during the first half of the race, you might struggle to keep your pace towards the end. So that's why we need to see how is the pace of Callum Eilert going towards the end of the race. At the moment, it's really fast. It's much faster than Maxi Günther and Guan Yu Xu, but it might turn the other way around in the next minutes when the tires start to drop. So Joel Eriksson then up the inside there of Jake Hughes, and after lap of trying to do so, Joel Eriksson does get ahead of Jake Hughes. So a good overtake there from Joel Eriksson, but here comes Jake Hughes, who's going to fight back here. This is the big battle that is going on for P4 at the moment between Jake Hughes and Joel Eriksson. Joel Eriksson got his nose in front. Jake Hughes is squeezing against the Joel Eriksson car as they head towards the hairpin now. This is mighty close. Joel Eriksson will try and make the car as wide as possible to deny Jake Hughes the opportunity to come back at him off the back of the hairpin. So what a fantastic race this is, and trying to buy into it as well is Pedro Piquet. Jake Hughes to the outside of Joel Eriksson now, but Joel Eriksson has got the inside. A slight lock-up from both the drivers. And Pedro Piquet, as I said, he's trying to buy into this now, so Jake Hughes has to adopt his strategy from attacking to defending now, because he could lose out on another place, notwithstanding the fact, of course, that Pedro Piquet has got a time penalty to come to be added to his time at the end of the race.
Yeah, exactly. So really good overtaking maneuver by Joel Eriksson, trying to squeeze the car all the way around. And it's like you're saying, you can start an overtaking maneuver. It's not the first time we see in corner number 2, and you have another half a race track where you still side by side with your opponent till you can finish the overtake maneuver just before the entry to the stadium.
May I just say that whilst all that is going on, Callum Ilott has banked a 1:32.943. That's an extraordinary lap time. It's some 4/10 quicker than the next quickest.
Yeah, no, it has a blistering pace at the moment. Let's see if we can keep this margin up on the road in the next 13 minutes. But definitely his pace is much faster than the cars driving behind him.
And what
the
he's
only
done,
car at the moment, driving on the 32s.
He's built himself just 2/10 shy of 5-second margin. So Joel Eriksson then ahead of Jake Hughes. Is there enough time for Joel Eriksson to get on terms with Guan Yu Zhu? This was the battle between Joel Eriksson and Jake Hughes, and it was a brilliant one to watch. So Jake Hughes the outside, Joel Eriksson on the inside. You could see Joel Eriksson there looking in the mirror, knowing where to place the car.
Try to position where was Jake Hughes, see if he was on the outside and say, okay, he's parallel to me, he's side by side on the outside, a little bit farther back. When we see Beckman fighting with Lando Norris. Beckman, by the way, has a 5-second penalty because leaving the track with an advantage.
But Lando Norris then has stepped up this battle once again against David Beckman. Lando Norris, the all-new 2017 FIA Formula 3 European champion, then chasing down that car of David Beckman, the number 55 machine. It's a battle going on for P11 at the moment, with 12 minutes remaining in this race, plus 1 lap. So, as Alex has said, that David Beckman has got a time penalty of 5 seconds for leaving the track, including an advantage. That's basically meaning he's getting a slingshot by going and exceeding the track limits. So, Ilott now 5.4 seconds to good at the top of the race. P1, Callum Ilott, 5.4 seconds over Maximilian Günther. Then it's Guan Yu Zhu, Joel Eriksson, Jake Hughes, and Pedro Piquet with Makino, Mazepin, Daruvala and Ralph Aron completing the top 10 before we get to this battle between David Beckman and Lando Norris. So to the hairpin they go into the almost the final third of this race. There is Makino then in the number 11 car. John Daruvala and Ralph Aron then, P9 and P10. So in the fading sunshine of this early evening here at Hockenheim, the race being led by Callum Ilott, who still lapping in the 1:32s.
Yeah, when we see he's now doing a purple sector 2, so best overall in sector 2 with a 1:30 with a 44.7, when everyone else or most of the drivers are driving on the 45s.
The only other one in the 44s is Joel Eriksson
and Ralph Aron. Anyone else is doing 45s. So yeah, he's able to lap in the 32s. This for sure is the only driver who is able to do this. So increasing his gap lap by lap. It's fair to say that the temperature of the tarmac is now, because of the sundown, increasing a little bit. So it's the air is getting cooler and cooler. So this is not so bad for the tires.
We saw Ferdinand Habsburg just going through. Of course, Ferdinand Habsburg had been into the pit lane, hadn't he, to have a wheel replaced and a tyre replaced. And Callum Ilott is getting close to being able to lap him. There's Maximilian Günther, P2. Now, this is the big question. The margin between Joel Eriksson and Guan Yu Zhu, with the time that we have left available, can he get on terms with him?
This is always the question. I mean, it depends a little bit how is developing the pace. I think 1.8 seconds It's a big margin.
It is a big margin. We've got 9.5 minutes plus 1 lap to do.
So it's around, I think, 9 laps to go, more or less, 9 laps around. So yeah, I think it will be hard to chase down this advantage.
Or sideways moment there for Ferdinand Habsburg as he piles on the opposite lock to drift that car around. It's far from the quickest way around. Some super slow-mos here of Guan Yu Zhu as well in the number 8 car. Of course, the Ferrari Driver Academy logo on the side of the car, and Callum Ilott then launching the car across the rumble strips there, doing a brilliant job with a 6.7 second margin out front now. From pole position, Callum Ilott doing a brilliant job. So great driving from Callum Ilott. Maximilian Günther, well, he seems pretty safe in P2 for the moment because he's got a 2-second margin over Guan Yu Zhu. And Guan Yu Zhu, of course, in P3, but Joel Eriksson fighting very, very hard as the family of Callum Ilott look on then at what he's doing out there on track and watching every moment of it. And there is Maximilian Günther then for Prema Power Team running in P2. As I mentioned, some 6.7 seconds down on our race leader. And locks up all on his own.
It's a big lock-up for Maxi Günther.
Interesting. So the order then in the top 10, it's Ilott, Günther, Zhu, Ericsson, Hughes, Piquet, Makino, Mazepin, Daruvala, Ralph-Aron rounding out the top 10. And again, now is this tyre degradation that's meaning that tyre becomes ever so easy now to lock up, or those tyres become ever so easy to lock up, and he's beginning to run wide as well as Maximilian Günther. He's looking just a little bit more ragged, Alex.
Yeah, exactly. Is what you're saying. Might be a little bit this tire degradation, or just this is a problem. When you lock up once, such a big lockup, it's a big lockup. When you have this square on the tire, so always, every time you're braking, it's coming into this flat spot, and it's getting worse and worse and worse.
Let me ask you this, because everyone says that if you do a big lockup and you put what's considered to be a flat spot on the tires, it then plays havoc with your steering because you can feel the vibration. Is that true?
Yeah, for sure. I had a massive lockout, so big problem on the wheels, and then you have a massive vibration on the steering wheel that the car is even undrivable.
Really?
So, yeah, I don't remember which race, but I had once I think it was a big lockup, was almost raining or damp,
yes.
And then I could not see on the racetrack, or a teammate from me in the endurance racing did a big lockup. Then you jump in the car and say, guys, I cannot see the road because it's vibrating overall. So you have to change the tires. And the problem is then every time you are braking, the tire is landing on this flat spot, and it's
That's
getting
where it will stop.
and bigger
Yes.
and bigger.
I understand that. It just perpetuates, doesn't it? So Lando Norris then, it seems remarkable, doesn't it? With Lando Norris having been so successful, of course, having won the championship already, he's got nothing to prove. He doesn't need to do anything, but he's not been able to find a way past David Beckman, has he? So Lando Norris is running in P12. David Beckman is P11. And just ahead of them and into the points is Ralph-Aron, who's running in P10. So there is the Lando Norris car. 6 minutes remaining, plus 1 lap of this FIA Formula 3 European Championship race with Lando Norris there, as I mentioned, running in P12. Did enough in the first race today in the FIA Formula 3 European Championship to seal the championship. The real deal, Lando Norris then, doing it in a rookie year of the FIA Formula 3 European Championship as well. Callum Ilott, and sorry to be going on about this, Alex, but I'm finding this remarkable. 8.1 seconds now. 8.1.
It's a blistering pace of Callum Ilott of the Prema car. It's lapping lap by lap, faster and faster, and it's increasing his margin by 3-4 tenths every lap.
Yes.
It's unbelievable pace.
So there is Norris then. Around Parabolica, heading up towards the hairpin now. Gets a little bit closer to David Beckman. Is he reeling him in now? He's not close enough, I don't think. No, sure enough, not so. The Carlin driver, Lando Norris, then in car number 31. Ahead of him is the number 55 machine of David Beckman for Moto Park. So under 5 minutes plus 1 lap remaining now. And what is Joel Eriksson now, forgive me, is 1.1 seconds away from Guan Yu Zhu. This could yet still happen. Joel Eriksson could find himself on the podium yet.
Yes, this still is a possibility. I mean, last lap he was 8 tenths faster than Wang Yusu. Oh, we see now Lando Norris locking on the Sachs curve a little bit, but as I was saying, it's 8 tenths faster on the last lap. We see already sector 1 pretty much the same, sector 2 a little bit faster, sector 3 a little bit slower. So now it says .9, so 0.9 of a second behind Wang Yusu. And yeah, as you say, we have three laps to go.
So on the Carlin pit wall then, there is Lando Norris continuing to be forced to drive behind David Beckman. The reason I say he's forced to drive behind David Beckman is because he can't find his way past. Yeah, exactly. He's not been able to really find a gap where to go through. And we see now visually the gap between Wang Yusu and Joel Eriksson. And now Lando Norris trying to dive in the inside of Beckman. Oh, locking. He wasn't close enough, was he? It's not close enough. He was locking all the way through into the apex. So he's desperate to get past the German driver and at least going to, no, not even on the top 10. He's gone fighting for P11. So Lando Norris really pressuring Beckman now. A little bit of a lockup comes then. So David Beckman has to start defending once again from Lando Norris, who is pushing in the closing stages of this race now to try and advance himself one further position in this second race. Another race to come, of course, tomorrow here in Formula 3, but Callum Isla is leading this race and leading it by a country mile. We are talking about a margin of some 9.2 seconds now. And Guan Yu Zhu has stepped his pace up a bit now and is matching the Joel Eriksson pace. So he's managing that gap between himself and Joel Eriksson, perhaps more critically, because it is the final podium place that we're talking about for that battle with Guan Yu Zhu and Joel Eriksson. And still Lando Norris chasing down David Beckman. So the order then, the top 10, Isla, Günther, Zhu, Eriksson, Hughes, Piquet, then it's Makino, Mazepin, Daravala and Ralph Aron before we get to this battle, which is for P11 between Lando Norris, who is P12 currently. The P11 driver is David Beckman. So going up towards the hairpin, Beckman makes sure he positions the car in the perfect place to deny Lando Norris the opportunity to get close enough and sure enough. But now, just ahead of them, you can see Aron and Daravala. Joel Eriksson again, just getting taking another 10th out of Guan Yu Zhu. So closing stages of this race, is it going to be a do or dare effort from Joel Eriksson to try and wrestle away that final podium place? Super slow-mo in replay here of Lando Norris.
Yeah, when we see now the gap between Wang Yusu and Joel Eriksson is down to 0.7, so 7 tenths. So
beautiful shot that is.
0.7 of a second.
There's the race leader, Callum Isla, who's in Stuttgart now.
Almost, yeah.
Is 10.1 seconds to the good. Look at this. It's virtually the entire... look, you know, he's out of the picture now before we see Maximilian Günther. Extraordinary.
Now look, the difference between Joel Eriksson and Wang Yusu. So both drivers braking for the hairpin, so it's right on the back of the Prema driver.
So Joel Eriksson now is going to try and squeeze absolutely everything out of this car, isn't he, to try and wrestle away that final podium place from Guan Yu Zhu. A lock-up coming from Maximilian Günther once again. And now Joel Eriksson is right on Guan Yu Zhu. We predicted that this would come, and we thought it would come right at the end of the race, and sure enough, that's what's happening now. So Guan Yu Zhu then under pressure now from Joel Eriksson.
So I think when we cross this, we have 2 laps to go. So plenty of action and plenty of time for Joel Eriksson to try to make a move into Wang Yu Zhu.
So what Guan Yu Zhu has got is it's now 1 lap of really heavy defensive driving, isn't it? Because we're on to the final lap now. Callum Isla leading by 10.8 seconds. Then it's Maximilian Gunter, Guan Yu Zhu, and Joel Eriksson, which is this phenomenal battle which is playing out now. There is just 6/10 between P3 and P4. Here's Lando Norris, who has got past Beckman.
We see now the replay, probably, yes. We see now the replay between both drivers. Oh, I think Beckman was...
Made a mistake there,
yeah,
didn't he?
Closing a little bit too much the door, and Lando Norris just saw the door wide open. Someone is saying no. Don't know the reason.
So, oh, Callum.
Having a big lockup.
10.8 seconds to the good. This is going to be a good victory for Callum Eilert. He has the stadium section to do, and then bring it home. And bringing it home, P1 in style with a big margin over Maximilian Gunter. And what can Joel Eriksson do? It's going to be a last lap lunge. I mean, there are not many more corners for him to be able to do it, and I don't think there's anywhere left for Joel Eriksson to be able to do it. Here comes Callum Eilert, who is going to take the win at Hockenheim. A brilliant victory from Callum Eilert. Well done, sir. P1 for Callum Eilert. A brilliant result, a brilliant drive from the Prema Power Team driver. There's Maximilian Gunter to take P2. Guan Yu Zhu does take P3. From Joel Eriksson P4, it's going to be PK P5. Bear in mind, there's a time penalty to come, though. So it won't stay P5. Then it's Makino, Jake Hughes, Mazepin, Daruvala. Then it'll be Ralph Ron and Lando Norris and David Beckman and Juri Vips and Harrison Newey, Joey Mawson, Felipe Drugovich, Di Francesco, Mick Schumacher, Marina Sato, Ferdinand Habsburg, and we lost Kay Van Andrews from the race. So there we have it then. René Rossin looking pretty pleased with himself on the left-hand side of the screen there.
1, 2, 3 for Prema Power Team.
Yeah, it is. Another pretty dominant performance by Prema, wasn't it?
Yeah, and this definitely plays into their hands for the team championship.
For sure. Yes, for sure. There is.
Because also regarding Carlin, didn't score a lot of points with Lando Norris on, I think it's the first Carlin car. Yes, Lando Norris, the first Carlin car on P11. So, definitely this is not gonna help them. Now we see the Maxi Gunter coming to the checker flag. And then Guan Yu Zhu taking podium just ahead of Joel Eriksson. So there you go, family happy. Cheering for the win of Callum Eilert.
Do you know what? When Callum Eilert puts it all together, as he does,
It's a
it's remarkable driving.
yeah.
Remarkable driving. And, you know, if that had just happened a few more times this season. But
Yeah.
then, isn't that always the question? If.
Yeah.
So Lando Norris then finishing out of the points in the end at P11. And their confirmation of the result then with time penalties added in, of course. Callum Eilert taking the win from Maximilian Gunter, Guan Yu Zhu, Joel Eriksson, Jake Hughes. Then it was Nikita Mazepin, Petro Piquet, Gian Daravala. Makino was P9, then it was Ralph Aron. Lando Norris then P11. Juri Vips, David Beckman, Harrison Newey, Joey Mawson. And then it was Drugovich, Di Francesco, Mick Schumacher, Marina Sato, and Ferdinand Habsburg finishing P20. So Callum Eilert out of the car then. Goes to be congratulated by the team. What a great drive. Really, really impressive. Finishing 11.3 seconds to the good. Alex, that's an extraordinary margin.
That's an impressive margin, to be honest. In an F3, which is a series which is so tight together, so close together, it's a really unbelievable performance. Really good from the British driver, from whole Prema squad. Also to place 1, 2, 3 cars, it's good performance. Especially, like I said, in a class like F3, which is everything so close and so difficult and so technical. So drivers go to the podium for this final race of the day. You see Britta Makina on the right side. And there we have the championship. One more time, Lando Norris already champion since this morning after race number 1 with Joel Eriksson. Still a few points ahead of Maximilian Günther, who is now 12 points behind the Swedish driver, so still everything wide open for tomorrow's race.
Yeah. And looking forward to that. Just see through the heat, through the fading sunlight, Alex's personal transport has arrived. It's a balloon.
Yes.
Super slow-mos to the top 3 then. Here comes Guan Yu Zhu for Prema Power Team, P3.
Have you ever flown a balloon?
No.
I did. It's really recommendable.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. You can sense my enthusiasm, can't you? P2 goes to Maximilian Günther for Prema Power Team. And then taking the win in fine style. With an extraordinary margin, Callum Eilert, race winner here at Hockenheim. Lovely backdrop, lovely picture. So drivers standing by behind the podium then, Guan Yu Zhu and Callum Eilert there by dint of being rookies, of course, for the rookie podium. And Callum Eilert, all smiles. So Peter Reichardt then, Richie, brings the drivers out onto the podium. There is Callum Eilert, who I have to say, I think at the moment he's sleeping in a grow bag because he seems to be an inch taller every time I see him now. Top step of the podium, P1, Callum Eilert. P2. There's Maxi Günther. What will he be thinking about this season? And Guan Yu Zhu then, P3, Prema Power Team represented, of course, on the podium. So rightly, again, dominance in this race, extraordinary. National anthem now. Another hastily faded national anthem then. And trophy's about to be presented then. And Callum Eilert receives his P1 trophy. Holds it aloft, or lifts his trophy. I was having a conversation, as Manfred Sandbichler presents the team's trophy, I was having a conversation with a presenter in Italy just the other day, who was saying to the drivers when they were preparing for the photographs, rise your trophy. And I said, it'll work better if you say lift. So the drivers were standing there, does it mean rise? So Maximilian Günther then.
Yeah, that's the positive thing on having you here. You can...
oh, there's a positive?
Yeah. Only one.
Bye.
But it's more...
That was Alex Torrell, who will not be joining us tomorrow. Count the fact I've just fired him. So there they are then, Callum Eilert, Maximilian Günther and Guan Yu Zhu. That was nothing to do with you. That was the good lady. Right, and Callum Eilert was first and foremost on the champagne.
The cap flew away. Yeah, but it's good to have to
Look, and legs it. Oh, come on, Callum, that's not fair.
But that's a positive thing having you. You're the British boy can correct me and improve my grammatic. Our grammatic. Like what is like commentary? What I said in the beginning of the commentary cabin.
Yes,
the
cabin.
Begin, or hey, Jake Huge.
Jake Huge. He is huge. He's a huge star, but
so that's
we
right.
actually pronounce his name
that's
Hughes.
A good thing, yeah.
Yes.
Bring you my Spanish accent, yeah, you bring your English knowledge.
But in fairness, you put me right with regards to a racing driver called Michael Azcona. It's actually Azcona.
Yeah,
because,
exactly.
That's how it should be in the Spanish language. So there is Alex Torrell's personal transport back
landing.
to his...
It's landing at the moment.
I was going to say hotel, but it's actually in a caravan this weekend.
Not enough budget.
So there we have it. Join us for race 3 tomorrow from Alex and from myself. Bye-bye for now.